Whether it is the moon landing, the assassination of JFK, or the disappearance of Maddie McCann, the internet is teeming with conspiracy theories. Whether you believe them or not, they are incredibly popular. Even so popular, mainstream media pick up on them every now and then. Before we go into the conspiracy theories, I would like to ask you to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and not to forget to click on the subscribe button below. Here are 5 conspiracy theories you did not even know they existed. Number 5. The slave colony on Mars. Alex Jones was joined by Robert David Steele, a former CIA operative Marine Corps major, during one of Infowars' nationwide broadcasts in June 2017. Steele talked openly about a slave camp NASA had set up on Mars. In fact, he told Jones NASA had been systematically kidnapping children and sending them off to Mars. After the 20-year trip it takes to get to the planet, these children were used as slave labor in order to build a secret Mars colony. It is still not clear why the trip to Mars would take as long as 20 years, as the current travel time to the red planet takes anywhere from 6 to 9 months. Jones then goes on, stating that 90% of all NASA missions are secret, and that this information comes from NASA officers. Following this broadcast, news outlets and tabloids contacted NASA about this alleged slave camp. However, NASA said there were no humans on Mars, and that if you would take a trip to the planet, a few rovers would have to do for company.
And this may strike your listeners as way out, but we actually believe that there is a colony on Mars that is populated by children who were kidnapped and sent into space on a 20-year ride. So that once they get to Mars, they have no alternative but to be slaves on the Mars colony. There's all kinds of.
Look, I know 90% of the NASA missions are secret, and I was told by high-level NASA engineers that you have no idea. There's so much stuff going on, but then it goes off into all that. I mean, that's the kind of thing the media jumps on. But I know this: we see a bunch of mechanical wreckage on Mars. And people say, oh, look, it looks like, mechanics. They go, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. Clearly, they don't want us looking into what's happening. Every time probes go over, they turn them off.
Alex, you're one of the most original guys on the air. And you asked, what should you do? I think you should be the truth channel in America.
What do you think? Is there something going on Mars, or is it all just a hoax? Number 4. The National Park Service covers up disappearances. Over the years, a lot of people have disappeared in national parks. One of the most famous disappearances is that of Dennis Martin, and I spoke about him in my video about 5 mysterious disappearances. However, it now seems people are starting to think that the National Park Service is actually covering up these disappearances. Since the records began, over 1,600 people have vanished in national parks. Now, David Polidas, a retired police officer, is on a crusade to uncover the truth behind these disappearances. He moved to the state of Colorado to become a Bigfoot hunter and founded the North America Bigfoot Search. However, Polidas states that his life changed when 2 park rangers approached him and asked him to look into their agency for covering up strange disappearances. Polidas started the Can-Am Missing Project in 2011 in order to figure out the possibly occult cause of the disappearances in the national parks. And although some of you might already be shaking your head, Polidas's Can-Am project and his books have in fact helped families and authorities, as they have grown to be the most comprehensive collection of data on missing people in national parks. Number 3. Anti-vaxxing for pets. Anti-Vaxxers is a name given to a movement of people, especially in the US, that believe vaccines are hurting their children and are in fact able to cause autism. But anti-vaxxing has now gone even further, stating that pet vaccines can cause a number of illnesses and ailments, such as arthritis, epilepsy, cancer, and even autism in pets. Over the past few years, more and more vets in the US have been noticing pet owners refusing to inoculate their puppies and kittens against serious illnesses. Catherine O'Driscoll, founder of the Canadian Canine Health Concern Foundation, keeps a very extensive blog in order to convince dog owners not to vaccinate their beloved pets. She wants animals to experience natural health care. She states that due to vaccines, her dogs are becoming allergic to life, meaning that her dogs were all dying before their time. She believes a lot of vaccines are contaminated, especially with feline retrovirus, and she ardently writes Kindle books and articles for Dogs Naturally magazine in order to stop pet owners from vaccinating their pooches. Have you vaccinated your pets? Number 2. Hurricane Irma was a hoax. Hurricane Irma was one of the worst storms to ever hit the Caribbean and Florida Keys. There has been millions of dollars in damage and tens of thousands of jobs have been washed away by wind and floodwaters in Florida alone. When Hurricane Irma was approaching the East Coast, the media had dire predictions as Hurricane Harvey had only hit a few weeks before. Rush Limbaugh, a right-wing radio personality from Palm Springs in Florida, was sure that this was nothing more but fear-mongering and a liberal conspiracy. He does not deny that there has been a hurricane, he simply does not think they are as big of a deal as the media would like people to think. In fact, he says that fear-mongering tactics are used in order to advance their liberal climate change agenda. He states that the media use hurricanes in order to create fear and panic and to bring the topic of climate change back into the news. Number 1. 300 years of history did not happen. The phantom time hypothesis denies that the historical period between 614 AD and 911 AD ever happened. The source for this reasoning lies at the German Archaeological Conference in 1986, where gathered historians discussed the epidemic of historical fake news. It seemed that scholars and clergymen were not always honest in their writings and tended to forge documents to further their own agenda. But Herbert Illig discovered that some of these forgeries were made centuries before the events the documents entailed, and he jumped to the conclusion that the past just simply did not exist. Other historians stated that these sources had been badly dated or made to look older in order to raise authenticity. However, Illig did not believe this and came up with the phantom time hypothesis. Illig also discovered that when the Catholic Church went from the Julian calendar, which was one day off every century, to the Gregorian, they had only added 10 days instead of 13. And for Illig, this was proof that at the time they knew about the missing 300 years. Illig now thinks that this was a work of Holy Roman Emperor Otto III, an emperor who would have reigned in the year 700, according to Illig's theory, but wanted to be emperor in the year 1000. And together with Pope Sylvester II, Otto would then have falsified 3 centuries in order to advance the calendar. What do you think? Are we living in the year 1718? Or is it just good old 2018? So, these were 5 conspiracy theories you did not even know they existed. Please give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button below the video. Thank you so much and see you next week. Bye!